Well, welcome everyone. As John said, my name is Betsy Minnich, and I work for PolicyMap, have for probably the last 4 years or so. And PolicyMap is a really exciting tool that started off with just a handful of universities and colleges that were using us as a tool. Um, in our mission is really to drive change in communities and markets by sharing information and data and making it easy to get to. And we are a service that was launched in 2008 as part of the Reinvestment Fund. Reinvestment Fund is a community development financial institution, and they finance homes and schools and supermarkets and other projects that build wealth and opportunity in different communities. There's lots of information about where we came from and our background on our webpage. But I thought it would be useful to know that this is really a tool that was built out of necessity as a tool within the reinvestment fund to help make decisions and drive decisions and figure out what was happening in specific communities and neighborhoods. And what we've found is that it has great applications for colleges and universities and as part of the curriculum as well. There are other tools out there that are certainly powerful and sophisticated, but they do require a lot of training. And PolicyMap is a tool where our users can go in there and simply and easily start looking at the data and creating maps almost instantly. So hopefully you'll find that it's very intuitive and easy to use. And also you'll know that we are always here to help you too. So we have online video tutorials and support materials to help you navigate through PolicyMap. We also have a 1-800 number or a toll-free number, or you can always send us an email at info@policymap.com. With your PolicyMap license, you also get access to our data team. We have a team of information nerds or geeks who are the ones who are out there curating and standardizing and cleaning this data. Always looking for new data sets. So if you have thoughts or ideas, certainly pass that along to us. We're more than happy to hear about how you would like to use PolicyMap and where you'd like to use it and what programs. I just wanted to show you a few things before we enter the actual map, and that is from our main page. There is a list of our data sources and our data indicators. We aim to be very transparent, so we do have a complete data directory that will show you not only where the data is coming from and how far back the data goes, whether or not it's available for all of our subscribers or just through the or just for our subscribers or in the public edition. You can find that here. So there's a list of the sources where it's coming from. Some are public sources and some are private sources. And we do have a complete data matrix that you can look at. We often get asked about what's available for a public and what's available for subscription, and you can easily navigate through that right here. So keep in mind that we do give you access to all of our data. And for some reason, here we go, my computer is a little bit slow, but this indicators page will give you a nice matrix that you can search. And that might be of interest to you. And I know that you all have different areas of expertise. And as you go through that, you'll be able to see what might be of interest to you and your faculty members and your researchers. In addition, on our academic web page, we provide some nice links. There are some videos from professors who are using PolicyMap in the classroom. This is a professor from the University of Pennsylvania who is using it for his public policy and administration class. There is a sociology professor from the University of Delaware who we really should probably have on the payroll because he's such a great advocate for us. He uses PolicyMap in his environmental injustice class. And this video that's live or that you can look at right here will actually show you how he's having his students go in and build a map. They're going in, they're looking at areas of specific ethnic groups living in poverty and their adjacency to brownfields. So really some interesting applications. Additionally, there is a professor from Seton Hall who is using it in her population health classes, and they're using it also within their nursing and sociology and, again, public policy classes. And we have tried to put up some interesting syllabi and webinars and sample maps and other resources from some of our subscribers. So in your spare time, take a look and see if there's something of interest to you. And finally, just in case you forget all the things that I'm going to tell you about today, there are links to our gallery, which has some of our user stories and some sample maps again, and some blogs that have been written by our data team. There is a support page. So here you will find tutorial guides that will explain exactly how to create maps and 3-layer maps, how to take all of the underlying data within PolicyMap and create tables, how to upload your own data, and then also how to use our predefined reports for areas that you decide that you want to look for. And also, I'll go over this today, but we'll talk about how you can download this data for use in other applications. So without going too much into the weeds and showing you what's available, I do want to just bring you to your custom site. And your custom URL is uco.policymap.com/maps. I do want you to notice that up in the upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to create your account. Everyone within your domain name can. And from here, this means that you can save your own data and maps and go back to it and have it in your own secure workspace. So keep in mind that you'll want to use that. A lot of professors like to use that so that their students have their own work saved within that area. And you do have the ability to share your work with others. So you'll note over here that you have a folder icon in the upper right-hand corner where you can go back and view your saved work. And you have the ability to save work as you're going. So this is the main page that you will see when you enter PolicyMap. And you'll notice that you can zoom in and out. You can look at a satellite view if you want. And this is a common question that we often get, and that is whether or not our data is US only. And yes, very simple, only US data. When you're doing a search, you simply start by specifying a location. And you can use the pull-down menu from within here and choose your location. So you can simply just enter in an address or a geography in the search bar and click the magnifying glass. So if I'd want it to just look for Edmond, it will pull it up. And I zoom directly into my area of interest. And as I showed you when I used that pull-down menu, if you're searching for a specific census tract or block group, you can always enter in a FIPS code and the map will locate and highlight the boundary for that geography for you. And you can use any of these other search options. Okay, so that's the simplest way to do it. We do have many tips when you're looking for a very specific address. And that is, to use this street address and zip code only, and use street abbreviations such as avenue or street, remove apartment numbers. So really, I'm assuming that it will be trial and error for you. You'll go in, you'll look for specific geographies or locations, and you'll be able to find them. Now, the next thing that you'll want to do is find your data. And PolicyMap gives you a couple of ways to look at our data. You can add a layer of data, and you just select it from a category from the tabs above the maps. And you can drill down these different categories into secondary menus and select the specific layer that you're looking at. We have thousands of data layers, so once again, sometimes it's not that easy to find exactly what you're looking for. So pretty recently, we added this find button. So if there's something very specific that you're looking for, maybe you're looking for obesity rates. If you just start to type it in, the menu will pull up all the different layers and points that we have that have to do with obesity rates. And you can pull that up and simply and easily view that on a map. So you can either use the find menu, or you can use, as I said, the data layers. So the first layer is our demographic data. A lot of this data is mostly coming from the US Census. You'll have information about population, population density, the racial makeup of a specific area or ethnic makeup. If you wanted to look at a predominant race or ethnicity, you can pull that out. If we want to look at Oklahoma as a whole, we can do that as well, and it will pull that up for you. And on the side, you see that we have a breakout of different areas or different racial and ethnic groups. So very simple and easy to create a map. And when you click on any one of these areas, it's going to actually give you the information for that specific, in this case, county. Adair County is greater than 50% Native American. So you'll see these different data layers. You'll see information about age, where is there a largest number of people between the ages of 75 and 84. And the darker values will be the higher values. And this again is data on a county level. And you can always switch that. You can do it city level, and you can do it by congressional district. And with every map, it's completely interactive, and you can drag your map around. You can zoom in, you can click in, and for any one of these geographies, it's going to give you the information when you pull that up. If you ever have questions about where the data is coming from, this is all here in the legend. And the legend, again, is hyperlinked. So it will bring you out and pull out that data for you. And with all of our titles, if you click on the title name, you're going to get a very thorough description of where the data is coming from and how it's collected and calculated. Okay. So right now we're looking at demographic data, but that's just a small piece of what's available on PolicyMap. You're going to find that there is language data. This is one of my favorite maps. This is, and we'll go back to Edmond, a map that is going to show you the predominant language spoken at home, not including English and Spanish. So it's just sort of a fun and interesting map where you can see different ethnic enclaves. In this case, it's other Asian languages. Here it's Urdu, Korean. It just gives you a little bit of an idea of what's happening in that area. It's, you can imagine, very helpful for health organizations and for public libraries and anyone who's doing business in the area to just see what other ethnic groups and languages are spoken in the area. And again, if you have questions about how this is collected, you can see right there. Okay. As we move out of demographic data, which also has household information, so information about household type, where there's a large amount of single parents with children or single female with children, where there is a large amount of households with 7 or more people, that's helpful. There's also election data for the presidential, Senate, and House of Representatives races, and also voter turnout. There's also data related to religion and religious bodies as well. And that can all be simply and easily displayed on a map. When we move into incomes and spending, there's some really good economic data. So I am forgetting, is it Jennifer who is our liaison for the economics department? If that's the case, Jennifer, this is going to be one of several areas that will be of interest to you. But here we have information about income. I just wanted to simply and easily take a look at per capita income, and I'd wanted to do it for, let's see, maybe Oklahoma County. I can do that. And it's going to show me, the darker areas will be the ones with a higher amount. I can look at this by zip code tabulation, by the city, by county subdivisions. If I zoom in more, I can get all the way down to the census tract. And if I keep on zooming in, I can do this down to the block level or block group. I can look at this across different sets of years. And I can even, look at this by percent change, which is a really interesting map as well. So if this is a map that I'd want it to share or show to any of my colleagues, you do have a number of different options for this. You, up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can print this map. And from here, you have a very high-quality image. This is one of our recent improvements. You can change the title. You can create more options like add print margins, add a data layer description from here. You can simply export this for your use within your reports or on PowerPoint presentation. So there's a really nice quality image you can create. You also have the ability to download this data, and I'll go into that in more detail sooner, but you can also share this. So if this is something that I'd want it to share with a colleague, I can email this, I can send a link, I can embed it on my own web page, or I can share via social media, either through Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. So you do have those options to share any of these maps that you're creating. So very simple and easy. As we're looking at these, you'll notice in demographic and incomes and spending categories that there are no data points, and we'll get into that once we hit the housing menu. Here's another interesting indicator, and this is the Gini Index of Income Inequality. And this is one of those great cases where we have a description that's going to tell you exactly how the Gini Index is calculated. And in addition, when we take a look at this, if I click on any one of these areas, it's going to show me all of the values for that specific census tract. So 40% of the people who live within this census tract have an income of less than $25,000 per year. And then as you go into different areas, and for this, it's going to show you for this area, the median household income is $31,000, here 44%. With all of these maps that you're creating, you can always play with the variables and how you're shading it. You can also play with the colors and the ranges. So if you prefer to make this green, you can make it green. If you prefer to only have 3 ranges, or if you have very specific amounts that you'd like to apply, you can do that as well. So keep that in mind. And if you ever want to start over and restart, you can, always go back here to the lower right-hand corner and restart. So let's go into the housing menu just so I can show you that there are data layers. So all of the thematic layers are listed right here, and they're displayed as colored maps with varying colors based on the ranges in the legend. But here there are also data points. So the first 2 columns are these layers, and I'm going to take a look at home values, median home value, and we'll look at this for Oklahoma County again. And also we're going to have data points, if I can get over here. And here I can take a look at USDA rural development sites. I can look at the multifamily guarantee loan sites. If I wanted to look at the HUD points as well, I can pull that up. And usually I can filter these points. Are they active? What program are they from? The total number of units that are here. So this data is all parsed out, and you can usually display it in different ways. So keep that in mind, that you can do this. And for each one of these data points, I can pull that up. I pull up all the detail in these bubbles. So here it gives me the site info that this is the Superbia Retirement Village. It gives me all the background information. It gives me the household demographics, and I can download this data as well. So once you get past the demographic and income and spending data, not only do you have these data layers, but you have data points. And there's some really interesting data layers here. We have vacancy rates. So if you're looking at areas of a community where there might be blight, you can take a look at that. There's information related to homeowner and renters that are there. Information related to homeowner affordability and cost burdens, and even household turnover. So if you wanted to see what areas of this county where people have moved in since 2010, you can pull that out as well. So the turnover rates are higher around the country club. So all interesting. All right, I'm going to move on down these categories and just review some of what is here, so you have a good overview of what is here and how you can get to it. There is lending data, including mortgage loans by race or ethnicity. If I'd wanted to see mortgage loans by race for white people, all originations, I can pull that up. Again, I can drag my map around and see exactly what's there, zoom in and zoom out. And here I'm able to see the median amount of loans to white borrowers in this area, the area right next to the lake. So lots of good lending data and information about where there are bank branch offices, credit union branches, and even FDIC bank failures. And we can look at that for Oklahoma as a whole. Now, one of the questions that you might have is, how often is the data updated? And the answer is that our data team, as soon as it does become available, will add it. As soon as they're able to clean it and standardize it, it's there. And it's often, if it's something like the new ACS data or census data, it's usually, an extremely quick turnaround. Data like unemployment data is going to be something that's available, monthly, and as soon as it's available again. And I strongly recommend that you sign up for our blog postings and our newsletters, so that you do get updates on what we've added and new data that's been added and what's been updated, what's been enhanced. So it's pretty important that you take a look at that. And also, take note of all the information that you do get in these information bubbles for the location. So the bubble will display the selected locations: block group, the census tract, the county, the school district. Okay, let's go take a look at some of the more interesting data. There is quality of life data related to crime. A lot of the crime data is not as granular as we're often asked for, but it is from the Uniform Crime Reports from the FBI. So that is actually only to the county level. So no, you cannot see the number of robberies down to the block group. And in this case, it would just be for, looks like Oklahoma City and Tulsa. But still very interesting. And we did recently add hate crime as well. So I'm not sure, that doesn't really make sense to have our bank failures next to our robberies, but there you get that. There's some interesting data related to transit access and travel time. What's the average travel time? And we can look around Edmond and see what's, oops, I ended up in Edmond, Washington. 1 second. Let's go to Edmond, Oklahoma. And you can see 23 minutes, not bad. So somewhere over to the east, it's a little bit over a half an hour. So another interesting quality of life demographic. There's also information about the number of vehicles per household, and information about energy, home heating types. And one of the things that is an area of study and policy for the reinvestment fund is limited supermarket access areas and USDA food access. So this is another unique data set that you'll be able to find available through PolicyMap. And the whole explanation of how it is determined that an area is within a limited supermarket access area. The whole methodology is discussed right here. And this data is in the process of being updated too. One of the missions of Reinvestment Fund is to bring healthy food to food deserts. So that's here. So that's why you will see that there is information about low income, low access tracts, access to farmers markets, access to fast food and takeout restaurants, and access to beer, wine, and liquor stores. So here is access to farmers markets, and we just this week updated our farmers market locations. So you can find that as well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Pardon me. There we go. And if I had questions about that, I can see that that's the Edmond Farmers Market. Also, you'll see that there's information on SNAP retail locations as well. So if I'd wanted to get a list of this, let me show you. You have the ability to create custom regions or boundaries. So here, if I'd wanted to create a region, either I can draw one, assemble one, or do a radius. I can assemble a custom region. And for here, I can choose how I'm going to assemble that. Maybe I wanted to do it by county. And let me zoom out just a little bit. So I'm going to choose Oklahoma County, and why don't we choose Canadian County, Lincoln County. I can't pronounce that county, I'm sorry. Can someone help me?
Which one? Which one are you looking at?
Potawatomi?
Potawatomi. Thank you. Did I say it incorrectly? I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize. I can pronounce Grady and McLean though. Here we go. So now I can save this and I can call it Central Oklahoma. And it's a region I can come back to whenever I'm doing research within this area. And if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see this little icon that almost looks like a little horse head. When I click on this, I'm going to turn off the SNAP retail location so you can maybe see a little bit better. If I click on this, I can see a list of the farmers markets within this area. So I can go in and I can download that, and it's going to give me all the detail about that. So keep in mind that if you create a custom region and you have data points and you want to download those, you can download that data for use in other tools or just for your own use. And it is pulled into a CSV file. It says it's going to take 15 minutes, but really it does not. So keep that in mind. Okay, so you get the idea with that. So there's some of the quality of life. There's also economic data, so information about jobs and industries, what residents have, what occupations, unemployment data, business vacancy data, information about business incubators. Here's one of my, I like to show some of the interesting data sets for, this is a helpful one as well. You can take a look and see where all the structurally deficient bridges are around you.
God.
So
I'm not driving over a bridge.
You can filter that out and see the different status. You can, and see exactly what's going on, when it was built. And again, if you click on this, it'll give you, the detail. Oh, I'm finding farmers markets. I'm sorry. They'll tell you this is the Ainsley Court bridge details, what it's made of, and whether or not it's open to traffic. So this is one of my favorite ones, or just, it's always a good one to take a look at. So the structurally deficient bridges are there underneath the economic data. And also electric generating plants. This is relatively new. We also have information on solar plants. And this is, again, if you forget where I'm showing you where it is, you can always look up into this find menu. Okay. So education data. There is some great information about educational attainment, about school district statistics. If I'm looking at graduation rates, I can pull that up, and let's close out some of these. You'll notice that we also have map boundaries in the lower center of the map. And you can show all of these boundaries. And one of the boundaries that you'll actually be able to see as well are school districts. And that's helpful sometimes. There's lots of different boundaries here. So there's Indian areas, community development block grant areas, prime farmland areas. So keep in mind that you can find that. Here we can see different graduation rates broken out by school districts. We can also go in and take a look at school performance. And again, I can filter this data out and color code it all. And the red dots are the not so great schools rating, and the blue dots are the really good ones. So not surprisingly, the schools with higher graduation rates have highly rated schools. And again, you can go in and look at the data for each one of these as well. So really good for anybody who's taking a look at education in a specific area. And you can, see what's happening around Oklahoma City versus Edmond. I'm going to go ahead and reset my map so that we can start fresh again. And I'm going, oops, of course this is going to happen during a, a demonstration. Let's go back into Oklahoma again. I wanted to show you really what is becoming one of our much more popular data sets or subject areas when it comes to data, and that is our health data. So there are data layers and data points. There are layers related to chronic conditions, infectious diseases, and you can go down within these categories, and in some cases you're going to be able to get this data for very small geographies. So if I was looking for information on high blood pressure, there's two different ways I can find this data. There is the CDC BRFIS data, which is for every geography. And then there was also the 500 cities data. 500 cities is for the 500 largest cities in the United States. And that was a joint study with the Reinvestment Fund and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And you'll find that 500 cities data will be available for Oklahoma City and Tulsa. But for those other outlying areas, you're going to be able to use our BRFIS data. And if you take a look at this, again, we can go back to Edmond, or might we do something new? Let's go to Tulsa. We'll look at the city. And we can see for this area, northwest of the city, in Osage County, it's 43.68%. Again, we can zoom in and see it all the way down to the census tract area and pull out that data. So the health data, there's a lot of really good information here. There's information about birth and prenatal care, mothers under 18 years old. You're going to find, and depending on where the data is coming from, it's going to be more granular or not. Information about healthcare insured and uninsured populations, information about Medicare beneficiaries, and information about access to medical care. So the number of doctors and dentists that are there per a certain amount of people, the rate. So that is all here. Pardon me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Oh, one more. Thanks. I'm sorry about that. There's also information about risk factors related to health. So, obesity rates, opioid use, prescription rates, physical activity, fruit and vegetable consumption. I always like to take a look at binge drinking around college campuses and see what's happening there. Oklahoma seems to be you seem to be a very healthy state. So here we go. So that's always interesting to look at. And then from here, you can take a look and see what hospitals are there, nursing facilities. Maybe you're looking at community health centers and lookalikes, drug and alcohol treatment facilities. And again, all this data can be downloaded. So you can pull this out and download it. If I'd wanted to download these data layers and these data points, I can do that together. And I'll show you how to do that right now. This download button will allow you to choose your layers and your points or both. And then you can choose your locations for this data. So I can look for all of Oklahoma statewide and choose that. And I can choose to look at that county by county, county subdivision. And then I can download all that data. So I've just created a spreadsheet that has the binge drinking data and the drug and alcohol treatment facilities by county in Oklahoma. And you don't need to do both the layers and the points, but I just wanted to show you that you do have the ability to download the data from PolicyMap and use it in other sources or other tools. Okay. The other areas I haven't really hit are some of the federal guidelines. There is a relatively new data set that is here, and that are opportunity zones. You may have heard about this. It's pretty much big news these days. And these opportunity zones, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Pardon me. Can be displayed very simply and easily on PolicyMap. This will be of interest to anyone within your business schools or even your community engagement center. And from here, you can see, what areas in and around Oklahoma have been designated opportunity zones. Another great data layer related to this are also your social needs area. The social needs index data is going to show you the ranking of these areas based on the amount of people in poverty, homeowners who are cost burdened, renters who are burdened, people who are working age who are not in the labor force. And this is related to our opportunity zone data, and also a book that was recently published by one of the founders of Reinvestment Fund and PolicyMap who just passed away this month. So there's a really great source of this information and of interest to anybody who's looking at social needs and income inequality and where to make investments. So that data is new and really interesting, actually very fascinating. So I spent all this time looking at the data that's here, but I think that's the most important thing for you to see, but there is other functionality. So we've talked about how to create maps, and we have not talked about how to view some of this data in a table. And sometimes it's nice for you to be able to look at data within tabular format. So if I wanted to look at, for instance, just unemployment, and I wanted to make comparisons, for instance, across different counties or cities within Oklahoma, I could simply put in my geography for that data layer that I'm looking at, or data set, So if I wanted to take a look at Oklahoma City, I can do that. And then I could maybe take a look at Tulsa. And I could take a look at, let me see, Edmond. I could take a look at Norman. Very simply and easily, I can view this the same data that we can visualize on our map, but I can take a look at it in a bar chart. I can take a look at it across years and see changes and fluctuations. And I can change or take a look at it in numbers or in changes percent across 5 years. So keep in mind that you can do a lot of things with the data. So the underlying data is there for you to use and look at in different forms. And it can be done for most of our data layers. So additionally, you can print and download these charts and graphs that you create from within here the same way you do with the map. Okay? So keep in mind that you do have the ability to use tables. Another great way to look at our data is to look at some of our predefined reports that we've created. So there are several different reports, the most popular of which is the Community Profile Report. We do have a brand new report that I'm going to show you that's called the Community Health Report, but there's also a Rental Housing Report, the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act Report, and the Home Sale Report. If I do this very quickly, I can do maybe just a quick search on Edmond, Oklahoma. I can also do this for a radius around an area. So if I wanted to, let's see, what is the address of your school?
100 North University Drive.
Thanks. And your zip code?
73034.
Okay, thank you. And I can make this, let's see, a 5-mile radius. So now I can generate a report for the 5-mile radius around the University of Central Oklahoma. And this community profile report will very quickly and easily give me a report that's going to show me your school districts, congressional districts, the population trends within your area, the racial characteristics of your area, and compare it to the state. And this is great because when you're looking at this data, you might be crossing county lines, you might be crossing different census tracts or areas. So it allows you to take a look at a snapshot for these different areas. There's age distribution and income levels. There's information about families and households and the composition of those families. There's information about the housing that is there. There's information about vacancy rates, unemployment rates, employment by industry, and you can see which industries. Looks like the healthcare and social assistance industry is the largest or among the largest. Crime rate data. So it's just a simple way to get a profile for an area. So that one's a great little starting point if you're just trying to find a lot of good information or background information about an area. But with the help of our friends at Seton Hall, we recently created this community health report, and it took a long time. And right now it's available only on the county level, but you, with your subscription level, have access to this community health report. And let's see, we'll go into Tulsa County. And this community health report is really the next generation of our reports. And it's what we are told is the most important data to go into community health needs assessments. So your health studies and your nursing students will certainly find this to be of great value. So within this report, you're going to get information about the population in Tulsa, You're going to see all these great charts and graphs and links where you are able to download the data or download the images that are here as well. When you mouse over, you're going to see the exact figures for this. You're going to find a lot of the same information up to this point that we saw in our community profile report, but also you're going to get information, what hospitals are here, what mental health facilities. And from here, you can download that data too and pull this out simply and easily into a spreadsheet again. Access to health insurance. So all that underlying data that I was showing you before is pulled into this report. Here we have a report about the medically underserved areas, having too few primary care providers and a high infant mortality and high poverty rates, information about disease screening and prevention, and then health behaviors. So these behavioral risk factors, heavy smoking and drinking, fruit and vegetable consumption, and you'll see the comparisons of this county to Oklahoma as a whole. Obesity rates, information about physical and mental health. Again, this data can be downloaded, just as I showed you before. Information about chronic conditions, which ones are the most prevalent, cancer rates, HIV, STD. So you get the idea that this data is, to create this report could take weeks, months, and it's all been, it can be dynamically created for you. So of great use. So hopefully that is helpful for some of you and you can see the need for it. Here's information about food security. You have farmers markets and SNAP retail locations. Information about the percentage of families receiving these benefits. Low access tracts. And then information about the social determinants of health, including educational attainment, income level, poverty rates, employment rates. And what you're seeing here is all data that you can go in and search for through the maps or through the tables. So it's pretty neat, and in the near future, you will have the ability to go in and pull this out for an area that you draw on a map. So I showed you how you can create your own custom regions and how you can do a radius report. That will be happening for this as well. So, well, the two pieces that we haven't really discussed and that I'd like to just give you a brief overview about are number one, 3-layer maps. And when we talk about 3-layer maps, you should know that it's a great way to find a hotspot and see exactly what's happening within an area or areas that meet a criteria. So perhaps what I'm looking for are areas where there is a large number of people who are living in poverty, age 65 or older. And I'll need to zoom in. I'm going to go into Oklahoma City. And you'll see that the entire map is purple because right now our percentage is 0 to 100%. I can use these sliders, or I can simply put in my percentage and I can zoom in and see exactly what's happening here. Okay, so right here, if I click on this area, 34% of the people living in this area are above 6 or older than 65 and they're in poverty. I can take a look at housing. So maybe I wanted to take a look at their home value. And I want to see, let me see. And here again, I'm pulling up an area where 35% of the people are above a certain age and the median home value is 166,000. And I can take a look at economic data, education data, school attainment, some high school diploma. And I can play with these values as well. So maybe I want 20%. And I can really create a hotspot or find an area that meets any of the criteria that I choose. I can do these for health conditions, for poverty levels, for home values, for education levels, and find areas where maybe a better instance would be I'm looking for an area where there is a large amount of people who are 18 to 34. And I can take a look at people with a high school diploma who are between this age, who have a per capita income of a certain amount. So you see that you can now play with these values and these sliders and find an area where there's a population of maybe a good amount of potential workers for a new business that I'm going to add there. So it's a great application, and it's really being able to layer this data and upload your own data on top of this is really incredibly helpful. So maybe I wanted to take a look at small business development centers within this area, or I wanted to take a look at business incubators, or maybe I want to upload my own data points and see what's here. So it's a really great way for you for site selection and for also, finding a population. And also for healthcare, finding a population that needs health care as well. I know I did this very quickly, but keep in mind that we're always there to help you with that, and that we are more than happy to, walk you through the process or point you in the right direction for our online tutorials. The final piece that I have not shown you is that we have this data loader. And here with this data loader, you have the ability to upload your own data sets or data points from a spreadsheet. You can either add the points directly to a map, or you can upload a spreadsheet of points. No? Oh, here we go. Here's one, Fortune 500. And this is an older one, but let's see if it works. And I can import this, and I have the ability to go ahead and put my own data points onto a spreadsheet. And if it's been geocoded, it's going to have a nice green sign. If not, I'll have a red sign, and I'll need to make some changes to the address. And now I'll be able to view this on a map, and I can save it and share it. So if I go in, I can take a look again at Oklahoma, and it's going to show me my data sets. Oops. And the points that I've added. Okay, so NGL Energy Partners. So again, if you do have any questions about uploading your own data points, when you do download these data points, it is in fact a great little geocoder as well. So if you ever need to geocode any of your data sets, we can do that through here. A few final points. We do have information about how to cite maps if you do bring them into your own reports right here. So keep in mind that that information is available too. So hopefully I have not overwhelmed you with too much information about PolicyMap. Also, hopefully I've shown you the value of our tool and lots of potential applications. Please be sure to let John know or me know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have right now. Any questions?
We don't have any questions, Betsy.
Okay. Well, thank you for your attention. I hope I showed you some uses and that you're excited about your subscription.
We are, and we appreciate your time and the presentation, and we appreciate you fitting us in. I know you did back-to-back meetings.
Oh, no, it's been fun. It's a good day when I get to talk to people.
And how will we get the recording?
How do you get to, oh, I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to put it into a YouTube video for you.
Okay, that's great.
Is that-
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you so
Guys.
much.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.